Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. Tider Insider TV, brought to you by Visit Tuscaloosa.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome into the latest edition of Tider Insider TV, presented by Visit Tuscaloosa. It's another Victory Tuesday. Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, I'm WVUA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris. And this past weekend, Alabama got the win against LSU. And you and I sat in the press box watching it. It wasn't a great game to watch. I didn't think Alabama played particularly well, but I can't be a hypocrite. I've said all season long, in the modern game of college football, particularly in the SEC, Rodney, it's about winning the game. And Alabama did that. Let's get into our analysis, though. 20-9 is the final. So we'll start with the offense, because that's been Alabama's calling card for the most part this season, although clearly the defense played maybe one of its best games. And you'll see Alabama forced 2 more turnovers, could have forced a third. But offensively, the Tide just didn't feel like it could get in a rhythm. For one thing, Alabama couldn't run the football in the game. They rushed for 56 yards. The starting running back, Jam Miller, averaged 1.6 yards per carry. Daniel Hill was the leading rusher with 7 carries for 21 yards. And so when you can't run the ball, it puts a lot of pressure on your quarterback. A lot of second and longs, a lot of third and longs. And Ty made a lot of plays. But he left some plays out there too, Rodney. It was just one of those games. You're glad you got through it, and you're glad that you got the win. But you can't sit here and say you played great on offense.
Yeah, that was part of our preview on Tider Insider Inside the Five. And, we said, look, the passing game's got to get back in rhythm. They fell out of rhythm, obviously, in the South Carolina game. It kind of carried over in this game. Ty was under a lot of pressure. Again, now he's starting to see a lot of they're coming after him. They're putting the heat on him, and it's going to happen again Saturday when Brent Venables brings Oklahoma here. But, again, we can talk about the numbers. We've talked about the run game and all of those things. But here's the truth, too, Gary. Ty Simpson's a throw away from throwing for 340. 2 touchdowns, having a really big game, and that game maybe getting out of hand a little bit for LSU, but it didn't happen. So, what happens on Saturday when Oklahoma comes is he's going to be kind of prepared for that heat, because he saw it against South Carolina, he saw it here against LSU, so it's going to be something very similar. Yeah,
and we'll get into the Oklahoma game coming up. Alabama didn't put this one away. I say put it away. They didn't have a 2-possession lead until less than 5 minutes when Connor Talty kicked a field goal. 17-9, a 1-score game, touchdown, 2-point conversion until that time. But the defense played lights out, really. And again, you have to take into account the opponent. LSU's offense is in flux, okay? They fired the head coach. They fired the offensive coordinator. They had a new play caller, Frank Wilson, the interim head coach. So they're not great. But Alabama held them to 232 yards, 59 on the ground. Most of that came on 1 carry, 1 explosive play. Held them to 13 first downs, 5 of 14 on third down efficiency. We mentioned forced 2 turnovers, almost had a third. And they forced a quarterback change. Nussmeier was pulled in favor of the Mississippi State transfer, Michael Van Buren, in the game. So I thought defensively, if the offense stuttered a little bit, the defense was on top of its game.
Look, and again, we understand LSU's a team that, like you said, struggling offensively, but that was an outstanding performance. I mean, Alabama played with a lot of confidence, a lot of enthusiasm. They tackled extremely well. There you see James Smith with sack. Defensively, you can't find a lot of fault in that. You saw a play here a moment ago where Dejon Lee made a tremendous play on the 6'7" tight end, Tre'Davious Green. So I thought that Alabama played extremely well defensively. Like we said in our preview last week, Gary, I really thought that Alabama defensively just keep doing what they're doing, and they did it. So really excited about the defense and how far they've come along.
Yeah, 3 sacks in the game as well that I didn't mention. So a good win, and over a rival, over a team that, over the last 15 years, along with Auburn, has had more success against Alabama than anybody else. So you get the win, and now you put that one in the book, and you get ready for Oklahoma. We'll have more on that in just a moment. But right now, let's talk about our segment, Coach Talk, and get to that. Alabama won the turnover battle, as we mentioned, 2-1, and almost forced a third turnover. The first one set up Alabama's first score of the game, a field goal by Connor Talty. The second came late in the fourth quarter to seal the win. And on Monday, Kalen DeBoer spoke about how this team approaches getting turnovers. It's certainly something that they do. And on the other side of the ball, they work hard not to turn it over. And Alabama's got a +10 turnover margin on the season.
but we talk about that. It doesn't happen by accident. We're working on ball security drills. We're working on, stripping the ball, knocking it out. Nakai's punch on the ball was phenomenal. We made sure we highlighted that, not just what he's doing as a player, but that specific play, and emphasize even the one that we didn't get earlier. I believe it was the first drive of the game. And so, you keep doing those things, you play the percentages, and we're just talking about those plays.
All right, Rod, let me bring you in for a little analysis here. Alabama's plus 10 on the season in turnovers. Oklahoma is minus 5. So, again, it may not come down to a turnover, but that's one area where Alabama has a distinct advantage on most teams, including Oklahoma as well.
Alabama's protected the ball extremely well. And, again, we talked about the takeaways that they're getting defensively. One of the things that makes them so good, also the red zone play that they have and creating critical plays at big moments in the game. So, defensively, Alabama does all of those things well, and offensively, Ty's protected the ball for the most part really well. He only has one interception, a few fumbles mixed in there. But, Oklahoma does have a little bit of a penchant, Gary, for turning it over. Mateer, he's got 7 interceptions on the year. Mm-hmm. He's thrown 8 touchdown passes. Not a lot of difference there in terms of his production. So, like you said, it could come down to a turnover. And when you look at Alabama, they do a really good job with ball security.
Let me ask you about confidence, because clearly Alabama had, I think, the toughest stretch of any team in the country. Played 5 SEC games in 5 weeks. 4 of them were ranked opponents, including Georgia on the road. Won every one of those games. But against South Carolina, they were very fortunate to get out of Williams-Brice Stadium with a victory, and then a little sluggish against LSU. And now they're playing a team that, let's be honest, last year kept Alabama out of the college football playoff. Alabama went into Norman last year as a heavy favorite against an Oklahoma team that was struggling. They were talking about firing Brent Venables, and he probably saved his job as they took it to Alabama. So that's kind of in your brain if you're a returning player. Maybe you're not playing your best football right now. Do you think Alabama's confidence is where it needs to be heading into this game?
Well, look, I think they've got a ton of leadership, and that's what's important. You're going to have peaks and valleys during the season. And, Alabama went through a very tough gauntlet. We've talked about that, and then you mentioned at the end they didn't play very well against South Carolina. They didn't come off the bye week. But you know what? This is a real challenge here against Oklahoma. And I'd be really surprised if Alabama doesn't play well. Again, they're not hitting on all cylinders offensively, but I think they've got a chance to. It's just little things, Gary. I mean, Ty Simpson was a throw here, a throw there from, again, really having a big day, missed a couple of deep balls, but, I think this will be a real opportunity for him.
All right, the second set of college football playoff rankings came out earlier this evening. The top 5 remain the same. That means Alabama stays at number 4, Ohio State 1, Indiana 2. I thought Texas A&M might jump Indiana, but they didn't. They're still at 3. Alabama 4, Georgia at 5. Now, Oklahoma's at 13, and they're still. Let's be honest, Oklahoma wins this game, they're moving into the top 12. So they've got a chance to get in the playoffs. So there's a lot on the line for these two teams. Now, Gene Chizik of the SEC Network came out tonight and said he would put Georgia ahead of Alabama and felt like this was a prove-it game coming up for Alabama against Oklahoma, and maybe it is, but I think Alabama's already had several prove-it games. Was winning at Georgia not a prove-it game earlier this season?
Well, it was, and Alabama, again, I think the gauntlet they went through, there's only a few teams in the country that could probably manage that, especially the way Alabama did, but listen, every game's a prove-it game, actually. I mean, so there's a lot of opportunities out there, so I understand exactly what he's saying. Georgia is playing really, really well right now, but guess what? They've got a big game this weekend. They've got Texas coming to town, so that's kind of a prove-it game for both those teams.
You said it. Every game's a prove-it game every week in this league. Still to come on Tider Insider Television, we'll take a look at Alabama's upcoming game against Oklahoma. We've already touched on it, but we'll go dive in depth. And Alabama men's basketball has started the season off strong. Can I say it again? Strong. I mean, they went into Madison Square Garden and took care of St. John's. We'll have that for you coming up. And also a little bit later on, we'll get to your phone calls, emails, and tweets. 205-348-WVOA. That's 205-348-9882. That's the number. We want to hear from you guys out and ladies out there, Tider Insider Nation. So go ahead and call in and get through now. And again, Alabama basketball was strong. In fact, I was listening to some Curtis Blow basketball earlier. Blast from the past to get me in the mood to talk Crimson Tide hoops. We'll be back with more of Tider Insider TV right after this. Rod, you remember Curtis Blow playing basketball, right?
I do.
Early rap. I say that because I know a lot of our audience is like, who's he talking about? It was an early rap song about basketball. It's really good. So if you're get a chance, listen to it if you never heard it. All right, welcome back to TITV alongside Rodney Orr. I'm Gary Harris. Saturday at Saban Field in Bryant-Denny Stadium, it'll be homecoming for the Crimson Tide. Interesting homecoming choice against Oklahoma. The 12th-ranked Sooners come to town, take on Kalen DeBoer and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama is perfect at home under Kalen DeBoer, and we know that Alabama, the last 20 years or so, last 15 in particular, just almost been unbeatable at Saban Field inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. But Oklahoma's already won at Tennessee, which is another hostile environment. And this is a team, I will say this, they're playing their best football right now. Mateer's back healthy. He got hurt earlier. Texas put the wood to him. Ole Miss won in Norman, but he's back, and that defensive front has been a problem. And Alabama's offensive line has struggled at times. So, what's the keys for Alabama come Saturday afternoon?
Well, I really think, and talking to some Oklahoma people that cover that team, I really think the challenge for Alabama is going to be protecting Ty Simpson. But if they do, you see what's happening right there? Tennessee receiver running down the sideline. Joey Aguilar threw for nearly 400 yards against this Oklahoma defense. Again, he was under a lot of pressure, but I think Ty's going to have some opportunities. They just got to find a way to protect him, Gary. If they can keep him upright, I think Ty can, he's going to have some opportunities to hit some big plays.
And he's going to need to. Because you're talking about Alabama, one of the lowest-ranked rushing offenses in the SEC, I think 14th or 15th, and Oklahoma's number 2 against the rush. They're only allowing 82 yards per game. So you got a team that's struggling to run the ball against a defense that's great against the run. And I know you got to run it some. You got to try. But I think it's going to come down to Ty Simpson and those wide receivers' ability to make some big plays, as you said.
That's what Alabama does well. So they've got to do it on a high level against Oklahoma. And you talked about that defensive front. Former Alabama player Todd Bates, one of the best defensive line coaches in the country. He has done an incredible job with that defensive front. Now, they have some injuries, but, they've got so many guys that they rotate in there, Gary. They've got 33 sacks on the year. I think, about 10 of those came against Auburn?
Yeah, I think 10 of them did, 9 or 10. They're good up front on defense, and they're playing, like I said, their best football. But Alabama is at home where they've been very good. And, Rodney, let's be honest, we touched on a little bit. I think the players that were here last year did not like the way they stunk it up in Norman. And I think do see this, whether you want to say they circled it on the schedule. I'm hoping that's maybe a little bit of a reason they were sluggish against LSU. They've really been eyeing this game and this opportunity to get payback.
Well, again, and I think the goals that they have, to get to the playoffs, this is a really big game because you win this game, you've pretty much secured your spot in the playoffs. And again, you still have to go down to Auburn. That's going to be a real big challenge. But you win this game, you're set up.
All right, we'll make our score predictions later in Tider Insider TV. All right, let's talk men's basketball. Saturday, the Crimson Tide traveled to the Mecca of basketball, Madison Square Garden in New York City, and they were an underdog against Rick Pitino and number 5 St. John's. St. John's with one of the higher-priced starting lineups in the NIL era in college basketball. I thought Alabama would play tough. I did not think they would win the game. But they hung 103 on Rick Pitino. It's the first time he's ever given up over 100 at St. John's. Phylon was unbelievable. 25 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds. Aiden Holloway got to the basket, 21 points, 4 assists. The Tide shot it well. Taylor Bowen stepped up big, 17 points, 9 rebounds. 2 steals, 2 blocks, shot 6 or 7 from the field. They did this while getting basically doubled up in the at the free throw line on the road. And after having led the whole game, pretty late in the game, St. John's took the lead. And you thought, well, here we go. St. John's is going to come back and win. Alabama answered immediately. What an impressive performance.
Yeah, it's a real. When you look at that, that's very impressive. Gary, when you hear Rick Pitino say, hey, this team, not once, not twice, but maybe 3 times he said it, this team's really tough to guard.
He said, you know what? If you don't turn them over, you're not going to beat them.
Yeah. And you mentioned Bowen. We talked about the rebounding might be a concern. And you mentioned the rebounds that he came up with. Thought that was real encouraging.
Yeah. Only 7 turnovers for Alabama, 12 for St. John's. I think Rick Pitino's right. The teams that beat Alabama turn them over. And Alabama's had a propensity to turn the ball over because of how fast they play. But if they take care of the ball with these weapons on offense, they're going to be tough. And Lord knows they're going to have to be tough on Thursday night. More on that coming up in just a moment. But right now, let's hear from Coach Oats, who talked about, we won the game, but we got to figure out a way not to foul so much because if you get doubled up in free throws, it's going to be hard to win consistently.
Honestly, the biggest thing was we got to figure out how to do it without fouling. You can't break the team with free throw line 40 times and expect to get very many wins. So, fortunate for us that they didn't have a lot of shooting on the floor. So we doubled them up with the threes. We had 11 threes. They only had 6. We had more second chance points. You can't They scored 28 at the free throw line. We scored 14. Like, it's hard to win that way.
Yeah, try to, foul less at the same time. Officiating, I thought, particularly in the first half, was a little skewed towards St. John's. All right, as big as that game was, now you get the number 2 ranked team in the country coming into Coleman Coliseum on Thursday night. Last week, the Boilermakers were number 1, and no, they didn't lose, but Houston moved ahead of them in the latest poll. But a lot like football. This is kind of a payback game. Alabama went to Mackey Arena last year, and Purdue handed it to them. Yeah. 87-78. It probably was not as close as the score would indicate. So I think they've been eyeing their rematch as well.
You know what, Gary? You hear Kalen DeBoer talk, you used to hear Nick Saban talk about the crowd. Mm-hmm. What do you think that crowd's going to be like?
It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be wild.
It's going to be a hard sellout, and it is. They're going to be ready and understanding that Alabama can beat St. John's and Purdue back-to-back, 2 top 5 teams. That would be huge. That's Thursday night inside Coleman Coliseum. All right, still to come on TITV. We'll dive into Week 10 of Bama in the NFL. And up next, your phone calls, emails, and tweets. There's the phone number. Go ahead and give us a call. 205-348-9882 is that number. That's 205-348-WVUA. Go ahead and give us a ring. We want to hear from you. We'll be right back after this timeout. Bama in the NFL for this week. We can't show you everybody because there's, I think, 65, 70 players from Alabama. We can show you Jahmyr Gibbs. 2 rushing touchdowns, a receiving touchdown. I mean, the guy's electric, and nobody catches him. I don't care. He's a running back. No DB has ever caught him from behind. Jamison Williams, they said they want to get him the ball more. Well, why not? Over 100 yards and receptions, including that touchdown as the Lions beat the Commanders 44-22. We were talking about NFL every week, like SEC. There's an upset. The Dolphins pulled the upset this week, knocking off the Bills 30-13. Tua and Waddle have been hooking up a lot lately. That's a dynamic combination at Bama. It's a dynamic combination in the NFL, and the Dolphins got a badly needed win over their AFC East rivals. Mac Jones did not get a win, but it wasn't his fault. He went 33 of 39 for 319 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Niners couldn't stop the Rams, and that was the difference, 42-26. You know what? Brock Purdy comes back. He's probably going to be the starter, but there's a lot of people now looking at Mac Jones. And Brian Robinson Jr. got in the act. They're starting to work him in behind McCaffrey a little bit more as Mac again. But Brian Robinson Jr., I should say, had a touchdown where he trucked a Rams linebacker. I wonder if we're going to see it. Is it coming up here? Yeah, here it is. Why don't you just get out of my way? He got in there. Last night, Jalen Hurts threw a touchdown pass to Devontae Smith to get the Eagles to win over the Packers. Josh Jacobs scored the only touchdown for the Packers. All right, welcome back into TITV. Let's jump out on the phone lines. Let's go out to Romulus and talk to our pal Tommy. Hey, Tommy.
Barry and Rodney, how are you tonight?
Doing well, man.
Great. What is going to be really the major key for Alabama to beat Oklahoma? Play action, because I know Oklahoma is going to stack the box against our running game. I mean, I know it's not the best, but they're going to do something. I mean, we got to get a little bit more diverse. And our running back got to hit the hole quicker. I have watched the LSU game, the other game. The hole was there. They just didn't seem like they did it quick enough before it closed up. Yeah. Tell me what you think.
Yeah, look, Tommy, first of all, Oklahoma, in that Tennessee game, Tennessee only rushed for 63 yards. They threw for right at 400 yards. And listen, if Tennessee doesn't turn the ball over in that game, they probably win it. So I think Tennessee self-destructed, give Oklahoma credit. But, again, Tennessee did not run the ball extremely well either. Oklahoma just has a really good defense when you talk about rush defense. They're only giving up, 82 yards a game, I think it is. But I think, Alabama's strength, obviously we've talked about it, being able to throw the football with Ty Simpson. Again, I think, Tommy, if they can protect Ty Simpson, give him time to throw the ball, I think there's going to be some big plays there.
All right, thank you, Tommy. Let's get to our email question of the day. It's presented by KDM Service Corporation, serving your family like our family. And it is from Jim in Sparks, Nevada. Do you think Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. will have an opportunity to come back from his suspension? I do. Again, it's internal discipline. I don't know what the situation. Arrested recently. He has suspended indefinitely, Rodney. But I would think that if he does what he's asked to do behind the scenes, that there'll be a chance for him to come back.
Well, I hope so. Again, as a football player, he's a real playmaker. Yeah. I do know that.
Yeah, he is. All right, we're going to come back with more Tighter Insider TV, more of your phone calls and emails on this edition of TITV. We'll be right back after this. Alabama soccer reacting to being selected to host Northwestern in the first round of the NCAA Women's Soccer Tournament. They'll host the number 8 seeded Wildcat, or the number 8 seeded Tide will welcome in the Wildcats this Friday at 6 p.m. And Alabama soccer, another good season, and they hope to continue it. All right, welcome back into TITV. We've got plenty of phone calls, so we're going to get to them really quick. Let's go to David in Northport to lead us off here. Hey, David.
Hey, guys, looking good tonight.
Thank you.
I noticed some young defensive tackles that got more playing time against LSU. Can you tell us more about number 90 and number 94?
Yeah, London Simmons is a freshman from Mississippi. He's a true freshman, and, man, he has come in, and he hasn't played like a true freshman. He's done a fantastic job. You remember he got the fumble recovery in the when Janze Pierre knocked it loose. But Edric Hill, fantastic player out of Missouri, Kansas City area. But, again, he's played some. He's got a lot of talent. Going to be a really good player.
Yeah, good rotation right now on the defensive front. All right, let's get to Doug over in Alexandria. Hey, Doug.
How you doing, guys?
Doing well.
My question is, do you think Alabama can really be a championship contender if we can't run the ball any better than we are?
Doug, here's what I really think. I think that when you can't run the ball like that, eventually you could get exposed. But if Ty Simpson, those receivers can play at an extremely high level, the defense plays and continues to play really, really well. Look, there's not a team out there that's not flawed.
All right, CB, so sorry we couldn't get to you tonight. We're out of time. We got to save some time for our picks. Hopefully you can call us back next week. We'll be back to make our picks for Alabama and Oklahoma as we get ready to wrap up the show. All right, score prediction time, and as always, you lead us off.
You know what? I think this is the biggest challenge that Alabama's had since the Georgia game. We saw how that turned out in Athens. Alabama's got the home field advantage. Gary, I've got Alabama by a touchdown.
Yeah, I'm there with you, and maybe even a little bit more than that. I think Alabama was peeking ahead a little bit to Oklahoma. I think they're going to be ready. I think they understand what's at stake, and I think Alabama gets it done 31-20. So we're fairly close in our scores, and hopefully we'll be right. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Tider Insider TV presented by Visit Tuscaloosa. Don't forget, if you missed the show, a replay tonight at 10:30 after the news at 9, and then the replay at 10. And you can catch us anytime at WVOA23.com. We're going to leave you some sights and sounds from the fans at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Same Philip Bryant-Denny Stadium against LSU. Place was jumping as always. Have a good night, everybody.